what's up? It's your girl Karina, and let's talk about what happened to personal style and why I feel like trends are getting ridiculous, as well as just have a full-on discussion where we are in fashion right now, or just fashion in general. Honestly, this is just an open dialogue. I am intrigued by the idea, and I just wanted to talk about what's been in my personal thought process regarding fashion, and let's just dive in. There's no denying we cannot escape trends in this day and age. If you search trends on Google, you can see that there's like an upward spike in 2020. And you may be asking yourself, what social media became really relevant in 2020? You guessed it, TikTok. So it's no secret that since TikTok has really changed the social media space, with the rise of this social media platform, you have more people online, more people sharing, and in a way it can be really overwhelming. You're constantly getting visually overstimulated by a curated algorithm, and it's no surprise that our attention spans have gotten shorter because of this. And because of this distraction, it doesn't allow us to have the space to reflect. And I feel like sometimes it makes it even more difficult to really understand what is it in my core that I enjoy. There's just so much information out there. You kind of have to select what you are trying to take in. I feel like trends follows that same pattern. So let's talk about what a trend is, because I feel like in this day and age, I think like terminology has really gotten a little bit misinformed, because I feel like there is a difference between trends, aesthetic, and fad. So trend by definition is a general direction in which something is developing or changing, a fashion. I feel like trends are a way of social language. It's a way we non-verbally communicate ourselves to the outside world, and what we wear sends a message to those around us. And I firmly believe that socioeconomic status has a huge role on how we participate in fashion. Have you ever seen those videos of like what people are wearing in New York or in Paris or in Berlin? I find myself captivated by the idea of the way people dress based on the environment they're in. Something about these metropolitan cities that I enjoy how people are communicating and interacting with the outside space, and just the reasons why they decided to wear a certain outfit and the way they're engaging with other people. And I think because these spaces usually are walkable or have some great of like good transportation, you tend to see a diverse and dynamic community. And because of that, there are more like various different styles. And a person who lives in LA but more in the suburban area, I personally don't engage with people on an everyday basis because of the way the infrastructure is built here. Those who don't have this particular environment accessible to you, another prominent way to engage with fashion is through social media. As much as social media gets as a bad rep, it also has fostered so many different communities. Within the fashion space in the last couple of years, we have seen a rise of aesthetics and fads, and I quickly want to define those because I feel like it's very crucial when continuing to talking about trends and personal style. The term aesthetic refers to a branch of philosophy that deals with the study of and appreciation of beauty and artistic expression. I feel like a lot of us are aware of certain aesthetics. I think one that has been prominent is the cottagecore aesthetic. It's a whole cultivation of these different aspects that make the aesthetic, whether it's the fashion, whether it's a certain lifestyle, certain interests, versus fads. Fads, it's an intense and widely shared enthusiasm for something, especially ones that is short-lived. So I think a great example in the fashion space about a fad is the House of Sunny green Hockney dress. And I feel like a lot of us talk about this because I think this dress was truly one of the pivotal moments of how intensely a fad can be and shift a whole community. This dress sold out within minutes in their website, and if you couldn't get your hands on it, then people were searching for knockoffs of it. And then it became a craze about finding the knockoff version, and then created or relived this culture of duping. A fad is a very specific, detailed thing or item, versus I feel like a trend can be a little bit more broad. It's not really specific. For example, we can talk about polka dots being a trend, right? It's not tied to a specific style of polka dot, it's just polka dots. And I think sometimes in social media we can get trends and fads confused. I really like this quote from Andy Lee. They say, "We lost a sense of individuality," Lee said. "People are shopping backwards, where they see an item they love and buy it without thinking of how to wear it. Focusing on specific pieces or trends causes imitation and thus oversaturation." And I think that's a perfect example of what happened with the House of Sunny Hockney dress. Talking about Mandy Lee, who's also known as Oh Loser in Brooklyn on all her social media platforms, I found this video that I feel like really captivates what I think is happening with trends and why we're constantly feeling overwhelmed by that and crave for nostalgia or a time before the internet.
And the defining trends of the early 2020s have already been decided. Quiet luxury, office siren is just 90s business casual, model off duty. Coquette and ballet core is just late 2000s manic pixie dream girl, which is just 1960s mod and space age fashion. Everything old is new again. This is how trend cycles work. However, it seems the 2020 style through line has been this endless pursuit of nostalgia, aspirational identity through consumerism, and blurring the lines between the things we buy and having an actual personality. Even 10 years ago, styles and aesthetics were usually given names after they've had time to develop and upon reflection. Unlike the 2020s, where styles are being named before they even have a chance to really breathe. People seem more interested in naming a style in order to give it a unique identity or point of differentiation rather than actually building a unique identity. You can't develop a specific personality or become a certain type of person solely based off the things that you buy. Just like you can't develop a style by declaring it or pinning it or mood boarding it, you actually have to get dressed. Declaring you're a Pilates, green juice, aloe yoga, clean girl has no relationship to how you actually get dressed and says nothing about who you are. And best believe corporations are thriving off of it. Pinterest pushing the eclectic grandpa trend and saying coastal grandma is so last year. Even though they are describing the same kind of person, it's intentional. With every newly dubbed aesthetic, no matter how similar it was to something that happened 6 months ago, comes dozens of opportunities for new content, new shopping articles, how to get the blank aesthetic. It's sneaky advertising brain rot. And for most of the 2020s so far, trends have been stuck in this endless cycle of nostalgia for eras that had real identity, and trying to replicate that identity and the real things that helped build these aesthetics doesn't hold the same kind of relevance and context because those eras have passed. That's a huge reason why I feel like trend cycles are faster and more hyper specific, because they are clinging to feelings and memories and context that doesn't exist anymore and can never feel truly real and now. I love trends because I'm a deeply curious person and they are my favorite lens to understand how people see and interact with the world. But I don't think trends have ever held this much social weight and cultural relevance than before the 2020s. That's what is really setting this decade apart, for better or worse.
Big segue for me to talk about, you know what, my favorite part of the video, which is the sociology behind it. I like to include things that I've learned that I feel like makes me understand more of these concepts and also just opens a discussion. So I took this class on sociology of mass communication, and we talked about just how information is passed in like mass media. And when it comes to trends, I think that's very important, because obviously how are things becoming trendy, or how are we talking about trends? It's just how it's basically being developed in mass media. For me, it brought this idea about information cascades and herd behavior. For those of you who don't know, information cascades is, let me define it for you, is a behavior in economics and network theory in which some people make the same decision successively and is similar to but distinct from herd behavior. And I think these both words can get confusing because I think herd behavior has been more talked about, and herd behavior is basically the behavior of individuals in a group acting collectively without centralized direction. So in a sense, just like following the crowd, you're just following a following. And I think that's why it's called herd behavior, because when you herd, you all are just going in one direction, versus information cascades. You get a sense of some information and then you make a decision. So it's a two-step process with information cascades.
Now, information cascades are about situations where every individual has private information about something. And this could be private information about the quality of a product, about the trustworthiness of a company. There's lots of different types of things where we have private information, and yet we observe what people say publicly to try to figure out what everybody else's private information is about. So let's imagine that we have a marble bag with red and purple marbles, and everybody takes an individual marble and can only see their own. Let's also imagine that anybody who guesses the most popular marble color is going to win $100 or something like that. So we come to the first person and we say, what is your guess about whether purple or red is most common in this classroom experiment? And this person, of course, the only information they have is their own marble, so they say, I'm going to guess red. And we go to the second person and we ask them the same question. What are you going to bet on, purple or red? And this person, of course, says red. Now, here is where the problem occurs. So we go to this person and we say, what is your bet? Are you going to bet purple or are you going to bet red? So we kind of know that this person knows for sure that this person has chosen red, and probably also knows that this person has red. So if they actually look at the full set of information available to them, so for this particular person, their most rational guess at this point is going to be red. They're going to say, I think the most popular color is red. They're saying that even though they have a purple marble, because of course these are the 3 marbles they know about, the more popular color here is red, so this person is going to say red. Now, what's the problem? We get to the next person, and the next person only knows their own draw, which is purple, and what other people have said. So let me write out what they've said. This person says, well, I got purple, but the other 3 have said red. My best bet is that this marble jar has more reds than purple, so this next person says red. And as a matter of fact, as we go down the line, even though in this lineup, only 25% of the marbles are red, because the first 2 people had randomly drawn red, that is going to sort of continue through as an information cascade through the rest of the population. This is not an irrational force. This is completely rational based on the information people have about what other people have said. And of course this is going to happen. It's going to be the reason why the early reviews for a product have an outsized influence on everybody's perception of the quality of the product. And there's going to be a lot of situations where this is true. So I hope this has given you a sense for what is an information cascade, how does it work, why is this a rational phenomenon, and yet a phenomenon that leads to all kinds of problems.
So another way I think of thinking about it is like, you don't know how good something is until you consume it. So you have to make the decision, do I want to consume this or not, based on the information that I have. Versus with herd behavior, there isn't no information that you're getting. You're just following popularity breeds popularity. And there was actually a cool experiment done on this, which I feel like if you are not a millennial, you might not understand this, but back in the day, there was a lot of MP3 websites, one of them being LimeWire. So for those of you who don't know what LimeWire is, back in the day, we didn't have Spotify. So a lot of us had to use LimeWire to download music, to put it into like our Walkman or our CD players. And something you know about LimeWire is that you can see like the ranking and also how many people would download the song. So what this theorist did, he took 2 songs, he put one with more downloads and had a higher ranking, but the song was kind of mediocre. And then he had another song that, was ranked lower, that was actually good according to taste, but had less downloads. And he saw that majority of people were downloading the popular song, even though that the song was mediocre, but because the information was there and they were like, well, why is it #1 then? And why are people liking it? Based on this, people were becoming more agreeable to the ranking and to the popularity, because it's like there has to be a reason why this song is ranked higher and why more people are downloading. So then this song stays popular because it's popular. And I think that's also like a great example to view trends as well. But then you have like network externalities, which in another form is like cultural consumption. And basically it's like the more you learn about something, the more you consume it. So an example of this can be like a TV show. So you can have a very popular show like Game of Thrones, and then maybe have another show that's not so popular, but it's good to you. And I'm gonna give an example of Last Kingdom. So my fiance and my brother and his girlfriend have watched Last Kingdom, but I haven't. And so every time we would go over to their house, they would talk about, oh, hey, Loki this, Ragnar this. And I always kind of felt left out, and it made me like, should I have been watching this show? You can see how happy and giggly they were to talk about this show versus me feeling like I was a little left out because I didn't watch the show. And because of this, sometimes we participate in watching a popular show because we want to know what the hype is about, and also because it gives us something to talk about with our friends or family or colleagues, and it creates this craze for that interest too. Because at the end of the day, people rely heavily on the information of others to form their own opinions, constantly updating our beliefs or what we enjoy based on the observation and actions of others and our conversation with others. So this is what we call social learning, which I feel like connects back to the social language of fashion and how we perceive ourselves in that environment. Yo, so I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Been drinking this yerba mate and I'm starting to feel the effects. So I'm like, whoa, girl, where you going? So all of this made me question, where does this leave us with personal style? Does social media make it difficult to find our style? Is it always evolving because our social interactions with the world evolve? So personal style is the way an individual expresses themselves through aesthetic choices such as clothing, accessories, hairstyle, and the way you put an outfit together. And I think the most obvious and cliche answer to all of this is that you need to know yourself to the core to help define a personal style. And the way to do this is that you need to try out as many things as possible. You have to experiment with all avenues of yourself, whether that is in fashion or with music or with arts. Figure out what you enjoy, what you feel comfortable in, and what you don't. And lastly, the importance on reflection throughout that process. I do feel like there's this great video by Tuba. She talks about all the different 4 stages of finding your personal style. I think she has a great sense of like the acknowledgement of why it could be difficult to find your personal style, but also how to do so. So I'm gonna link her video down below if you're interested in it. It's a really great video. Highly recommend you watch it. There's no denying that I've also contributed to the conversations regarding trends, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit annoyed at myself with it, but I also want to remind myself that in a culture of social media consumption, we have to learn how to be kind with ourselves, be aware of influence so we don't overconsume recklessly, which thus helps make better decisions with our personal style and make decisions that function for your lifestyle. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I've been really enjoying just social commentary. I think it's really fun. I love for us to all get in these conversations and talk about it because I think it's a very prevalent one and things that need to happen. So let me know what your opinion is down below. I want to hear you out. Yeah, don't forget to give this video a like and maybe some other topics you're interested of me talking about. If you want to follow me on all my socials, I'm living as Karina on IG, TikTok, and whatnot. I do have a whatnot show coming up, and it's gonna be a birthday show, so I'll leave the link in the description so you can get like a $15 credit when you first sign up, and you can bookmark my show too, just if you're curious. I'm just saying that, not sponsored, but if you want to check it out. Other than that, that is all for me. Appreciate you for being here, and I'll see you soon with a new video. Bye.